I've been in the Army for 32 years. I've seen thousands of soldiers come through basic training, watched hundreds wash out of specialized schools, and witnessed dozens of promotions based on politics rather than merit. But I've only seen one soldier score a perfect qualification on the Advanced Marksmanship course, survive SEAL training that was designed to break her, and return to her unit with a Navy Cross, all before her 25th birthday. Her name was Lieutenant Emily Carter, and the Army tried everything to make her quit. They failed. This is her story. The first time I encountered Emily Carter was at Fort Benning, Georgia, during the Army Sniper School selection process. I was the senior instructor, responsible for evaluating candidates who wanted to attend one of the most demanding training programs in the military. Carter walked into the briefing room, and I almost dismissed her on sight. She was young, maybe 22, and small. 5'6", maybe 130 pounds, with her blonde hair pulled back in a regulation bun. In a room full of hardened infantrymen and special operations candidates, she looked like someone's kid sister who'd wandered into the wrong building. Then she started the qualification course. The Army Sniper School qualification requires candidates to hit targets at distances from 300 to 800 meters, in various conditions, from multiple positions. Most candidates, experienced marksmen with years of training, score between 75 and 85%. Anything above 90% is exceptional. Carter hit every single target. Every single one. I walked down to the range where she was cleaning her rifle, a standard M24, nothing special, and watched her work. She moved with the kind of efficiency that comes from thousands of hours of practice, breaking down the weapon with muscle memory, so ingrained it looked effortless. "Private Carter," I said. She stood immediately. "Master Sergeant." That was an impressive performance. "Thank you, Master Sergeant. Where'd you learn to shoot like that?" Something flickered across her face. Hesitation, maybe calculation. "My father taught me, Master Sergeant." "Your father must be one hell of a marksman." "Yes, Master Sergeant. He is." I should have pressed her on that. Should have asked more questions. But I was too impressed by what I'd just witnessed to dig deeper. That was my first mistake. Carter entered sniper school 2 weeks later as part of a class of 32 candidates. The course was 7 weeks of hell: advanced marksmanship, stalking, camouflage, target detection, long-range shooting in every condition imaginable. The washout rate was typically around 40%. Carter didn't just pass. She dominated. She outshot men who'd been in combat. She outstalked instructors who'd been teaching the course for a decade. During the final exercise, a 72-hour field problem where candidates had to move undetected through enemy territory and engage targets at extreme range, Carter not only completed every objective, but did it so well that the evaluators couldn't find her hide site even after she'd revealed her position. "Master Sergeant," one of my fellow instructors said, watching Carter receive her graduation certificate, "that girl is either a natural prodigy or she's had professional training since she was a kid." "Maybe both," I said. After graduation, Carter was assigned to the 3rd Infantry Division as a designated marksman. Within 6 months, she'd been promoted to specialist. Within a year, she'd made sergeant. Her performance reviews were flawless. Her shot placement in combat situations was legendary. She'd been deployed to Iraq and had 37 confirmed kills without a single civilian casualty. Then she applied for officer candidate school. That's when everything changed. The OCS application required a full background check and family information. Standard procedure. Every candidate goes through it. But Carter's application went up the chain of command and then stopped. I found out why 3 days later when I got called into the battalion commander's office. Colonel Matthews was sitting behind his desk with a file folder open in front of him, looking like he'd just swallowed something unpleasant. "Master Sergeant, you were Sergeant Carter's primary instructor at sniper school, correct?" "Yes, sir." "Did she ever mention her father to you?" "Only that he taught her to shoot." "What?" Matthews turned the folder around so I could see it. At the top of Carter's personnel file, under Emergency Contact, Father, was a name I recognized immediately. Lieutenant General Thomas Carter, United States Army, retired. Jesus Christ, I said. Thomas Carter was a legend. 2 stars, decorated combat veteran, former commander of Special Operations Command. He'd retired 5 years ago amid some political controversy. Something about disagreeing with Pentagon policy on special operations deployments. But before that, he'd been one of the most respected officers in the Army. She never told anyone, Matthews said. She enlisted under her own name, went through basic training, sniper school, deployment, all without anyone knowing she was Tom Carter's daughter. Why would she hide it? Because she wanted to earn her place. Matthews closed the folder. But now it's complicated. General Carter wasn't popular with current Army leadership when he retired. He burned some bridges on his way out. And now his daughter is applying for OCS, performing exceptionally, and making a lot of people uncomfortable. Uncomfortable how? Uncomfortable because if we promote her, people will say it's because of her father. And if we don't promote her, people will say we're punishing her for who her father is. Either way, it's political. I felt my jaw tighten. Sir, with respect, Carter has earned everything she's achieved. Her performance speaks for itself. I agree. But that's not going to matter to the people making decisions above my pay grade. He was right. 2 weeks later, Carter's OCS application was approved, with a caveat. She'd be commissioned as a second lieutenant, but instead of being assigned to a traditional unit where she could use her skills, she was being transferred to basic underwater demolition/SEAL training. I found Carter in the barracks, packing her gear. She was moving methodically, her face carefully neutral, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. You heard, I said. Yes, Master Sergeant. This is bullshit. You know that, right? She looked up at me, and for the first time since I'd met her, I saw something other than professional composure in her eyes. Anger. Cold, controlled, but unmistakable. They don't want me to succeed, she said quietly. My father made enemies when he retired. He spoke out against policies he thought would get soldiers killed. He challenged people who were more interested in politics than mission accomplishment. And now they're using me to settle old scores. Bud/S is designed for men, Carter. The physical standards are achievable, she interrupted. I've been training my entire life, Master Sergeant. My father didn't just teach me to shoot. He taught me everything. How to run on no sleep. How to function when every part of your body is screaming at you to quit. How to be harder than the people trying to break you. Why would he do that? She smiled, but there was no humor in it. Because he knew what the Army was like for women. Especially women who wanted to do more than the Army thought they should. He told me when I was 12 years old that if I wanted to serve, I'd have to be better than everyone else. Not as good. Better. Because the standards would be different, the scrutiny would be higher, and the tolerance for mistakes would be zero. So he turned you into a weapon. He turned me into a soldier. The best soldier he knew how to create. She closed her pack. And now I'm going to use everything he taught me to prove that they made a mistake. Carter, even if you make it through BUD/S, which would make you the first woman to ever complete the program, they're still not going to accept you. The SEAL community, I'm not trying to become a SEAL, Master Sergeant. I'm trying to survive what they're using to break me. And then I'm going to come back and show them that nothing they do will make me quit. 3 days later, she reported to Naval Special Warfare Center in Coronado, California. I didn't expect to see her again. I was wrong. The reports started filtering back after the first week. Carter was still there. She'd survived the initial physical screening, a test that eliminated roughly 20% of candidates before training even officially began. Then came Hell Week. 5.5 days of continuous training with a maximum of 4 hours of sleep total. Cold water immersion, log PT, boat drills, long runs on soft sand. All while instructors screamed in your face and did everything possible to make you quit. The attrition rate during Hell Week typically ranged from 60 to 75%. I wasn't there to witness it personally, but I heard the stories from instructors I knew at Coronado. They told me about the small woman who refused to ring the bell, no matter what they threw at her. They made her carry boats by herself that required 4 men to lift. She did it. They kept her in the surf zone until her body temperature dropped to dangerous levels. She stayed. They put her through boat drills where her team, all male candidates who resented her presence, deliberately tried to make her fail. She outperformed them. On the 4th day of Hell Week, during a nighttime exercise in near-freezing water, one of the male candidates started going hypothermic. Carter, despite being smaller and more affected by the cold, helped him to shore and got him medical attention. The instructors tried to use that as an excuse to drop her for leaving formation. She argued that the SEAL ethos says you never leave a teammate behind, and refusing to help him would have violated that principle. They couldn't argue with that. She finished Hell Week. 63 candidates started. 19 finished. Carter was one of them. But finishing Hell Week was only the beginning. She still had months of training ahead. Diving, land warfare, weapons, tactics. And the entire time, she had to deal with not just the physical demands but the social reality of being the only woman in a program that had been all-male for its entire history. The news reached me 4 months into Carter's training. There'd been an incident during a live-fire exercise in the desert. Details were classified, but the rumor mill said Carter had been involved in something that was now under investigation. I made some calls, called in favors with people I knew at Naval Special Warfare. Eventually, I got the real story. During a simulated hostage rescue exercise, Carter's team had been given faulty intelligence. They'd been told the hostages were in one building when they were actually in another. The team had breached the wrong building and taken simulated casualties. Most teams would have called it a training failure, reset, and tried again. Carter had done something different. She'd read the tactical situation, realized the intelligence was wrong, and made a call that went against her orders. She'd redirected her team to the correct building based on visual observation and tactical reasoning. They'd rescued the hostages with no casualties. The instructors had been furious. She'd disobeyed orders. She'd acted independently. She'd violated the chain of command. But she'd also been right. The investigation concluded that Carter had made the correct tactical decision, but had done so in a manner that showed insufficient respect for command structure. She was given a formal reprimand. She also scored the highest grade in her class on that particular exercise. That's when I understood something about Emily Carter. She wasn't trying to prove she could follow the rules. She was proving she could think beyond them. Her father had taught her that mission accomplishment mattered more than ego, that saving lives was more important than avoiding criticism, and that sometimes the right call was the unpopular one. The Army leadership had tried to break her by sending her to BUD/S. Instead, they'd made her sharper. Carter graduated from BUD/S 6 months after she started. She was the first woman to ever complete the program. The ceremony was quiet. No press, no publicity, just a small group of instructors and fellow graduates. But word got around. It always does. She was awarded the Trident, the SEAL insignia, in recognition of completing the training. But she wasn't assigned to a SEAL team. That would have required her to change branches to the Navy, and she was still technically an Army officer. Instead, she was sent back to the 3rd Infantry Division with orders to report to her original unit as a 2nd lieutenant. I was there when she arrived. The entire battalion knew she was coming. Half of them expected her to show up with an ego the size of Texas, ready to tell everyone how special she was. Carter walked into the battalion headquarters in a pressed uniform, crisp salute, and reported to Colonel Matthews with perfect military courtesy. "Lieutenant Carter reporting as ordered, sir." Matthews looked at her for a long moment. "I heard you had an interesting 6 months." "Yes, sir. I learned a great deal. I also heard you earned a reputation for being difficult to kill. I prefer to think of it as being difficult to discourage, sir." Matthews smiled. A real smile, not the political one I'd seen before. "Welcome back, Lieutenant. We have a mission for you." The mission came 3 weeks later. Intelligence had located a high-value target in Syria, a terrorist leader responsible for attacks against American forces and civilians. The operation required a sniper team to insert covertly, observe the target, and take him out if the opportunity presented itself. It was exactly the kind of mission Carter had trained for her entire life. Matthews assigned her as team leader with 2 experienced NCOs as support. One of them, Sergeant First Class Marcus Webb, had been openly skeptical of Carter since her return. "Sir, with respect," Webb said during the mission brief, "Lieutenant Carter might have impressive credentials, but she hasn't led a team in combat as an officer. This is a high-risk mission. Maybe someone with more command experience." "Sergeant Webb," Matthews interrupted, "Lieutenant Carter has 37 confirmed kills from her previous deployment, graduated top of her class from sniper school, and just completed the most physically and mentally demanding training program in the U.S. military. I'd say she's qualified, unless you have a specific tactical concern about her capabilities." Webb looked at Carter. She met his gaze steadily, waiting. "No, sir," Webb said finally. "No concerns." The team inserted into Syria 48 hours later. The plan was to establish a hide site overlooking the target compound, confirm the HVT's presence, and wait for authorization to engage. They moved through hostile territory for 3 days. Carter led from the front, navigating by terrain features and celestial navigation when GPS was unreliable. She set security rotations that kept the team alert without exhausting them. She made decisions quickly and confidently. Webb started to respect her. On the 3rd night, they established their hide site on a ridgeline 800 meters from the target compound. Carter glassed the area through her scope, mapping every building, every guard position, every potential complication. "That's him," she said quietly, identifying the HVT through thermal imaging. "Second building, north side. He's got 12 armed guards. Routine patrol patterns, but they're disciplined." "Rules of engagement?" Webb asked. "We wait for confirmation from higher, but we prepare for every contingency. If this goes kinetic, I need you ready to provide suppression fire while I take the shot. 800 meters in variable wind conditions. That's a hell of a shot, LT." Carter adjusted her scope, calculating windage and elevation with the kind of casual precision that comes from years of practice. "My father used to make me shoot targets at 1,000 meters in thunderstorms. This is a good day." They waited. Hours passed. The target moved through the compound, occasionally visible, occasionally not. Carter tracked him patiently, never rushing, always professional. Then everything changed. "All teams, be advised," the radio crackled. "Intelligence indicates the target is preparing to move locations. Window for engagement is closing. You are authorized to engage at your discretion." Carter took a slow breath. "Webb, Thompson, I need absolute silence. No movement. The shot window is going to be narrow." The target appeared in a doorway, surrounded by guards. He was only visible for seconds at a time, always with someone between him and Carter's firing line. An impossible shot. Any movement, any miscalculation, and she'd hit a guard instead of the target, or miss entirely and blow the operation. Carter waited. She controlled her breathing, her heart rate, every muscle in her body. This was what her father had trained her for. Not just the physical skill of shooting, but the mental discipline to wait for the perfect moment. Then the guard shifted. Just for a second. A gap appeared. Carter squeezed the trigger. The rifle recoil was familiar, almost comforting. Through the scope, she watched the target drop. Clean hit. Center mass. The guards scattered, confused, searching for a threat they couldn't see. "Target down," Carter said calmly. "Prepare for exfil. We move in 3 minutes." They were gone before the guards even figured out where the shot had come from. The extraction was clean. No casualties, no complications. Carter led her team back to the rally point and called in the successful mission. When they returned to base, Colonel Matthews was waiting. "Lieutenant Carter," he said, "that was textbook. The analysis I'm reading says that was one of the finest pieces of sniper work this command has seen in a decade." "Thank you, sir. But it wasn't just me. Sergeant Webb and Sergeant Thompson provided perfect support." Matthews smiled. Spoken like a real officer. He paused. "There's something else. Command has recommended you for the Bronze Star with Valor device. And they've also recommended you for early promotion to first lieutenant." Carter stood a little straighter. "Sir, you've earned it, Carter. You've earned all of it. And I think it's time everyone in this army understands that." The award ceremony was 3 weeks later. The entire battalion was present, along with senior officers from division and corps level. Carter stood at attention in her dress uniform, looking exactly like what she was, a soldier who'd proven herself beyond any doubt. The citation for the Bronze Star was read aloud. It detailed her actions in Syria, her leadership under pressure, her tactical brilliance. But it was what came after that mattered most. General Patricia Morrison, a 3-star who commanded the entire division, stepped forward to present the medal. "Lieutenant Carter," she said, her voice carrying across the formation, "I'm going to say something that's not part of the official ceremony, but I think it needs to be said." She turned to address the entire battalion. "Some of you know that Lieutenant Carter is the daughter of Lieutenant General Thomas Carter. Some of you wondered if that relationship played a role in her assignments, her training opportunities, her rapid advancement." Carter's face remained impassive, but I saw her jaw tighten slightly. "Let me be clear," Morrison continued. "Lieutenant Carter's father is one of the finest soldiers this army has ever produced. But he didn't earn her achievements. She did. She scored perfect on advanced marksmanship. She graduated sniper school at the top of her class. She completed BUD/S, a program that breaks the majority of men who attempt it. And she led a successful mission against a high-value target with tactical excellence that would be impressive for an officer with 10 times her experience." Morrison pinned the medal on Carter's uniform. If anything, being General Carter's daughter made things harder for her. Because people assumed she hadn't earned her place. Because command structures tried to use her lineage against her. Because she had to be twice as good just to be considered equal. The general stepped back and saluted Carter. Carter returned the salute, crisp and perfect. "And she was," Morrison said. "She was twice as good. She is twice as good. And this army is better for having her in it." The battalion erupted in applause. Even Webb, skeptical, hard-edged Webb, was clapping. Carter's face remained professional, but I saw something in her eyes I hadn't seen before. Pride, not arrogance. Just quiet pride and work well done. 2 days after the ceremony, I saw Carter standing outside the battalion headquarters with an older man in civilian clothes. He was tall, gray-haired, with the bearing of someone who'd spent his life in uniform even though he wasn't wearing one now. Lieutenant General Thomas Carter. Retired, but unmistakable. I approached cautiously. "General Carter." "It's an honor, sir." He turned, studied me, then extended his hand. "Master Sergeant, you taught my daughter at sniper school." "Yes, sir. She was the best student I've ever had. She told me you were fair, that you evaluated her on merit, not expectations." He looked at his daughter, who was standing at parade rest despite being in a casual conversation with her father. That meant a lot to her. Carter looked uncomfortable. "Dad, Emily, let me embarrass you for a minute. I'm retired. I'm allowed." He turned back to me. "Master Sergeant, do you know why I trained my daughter the way I did?" "She said you wanted her to be better than everyone else." "No, I wanted her to be so undeniably good that nobody could dismiss her. I knew what she'd face, the skepticism, the barriers, the people who would try to break her because they couldn't stand the idea of a woman succeeding in their world. So I made her unbreakable." He paused, his voice getting quieter. "When I heard they'd sent her to BUD/S as a way to force her out, I wanted to call in every favor I had. Wanted to make phone calls, pressure people, use my rank to protect her. But she called me and told me not to. Said she'd handle it herself. Said that if I intervened, it would prove everyone right, that she couldn't make it on her own. She made it, I said. She did more than make it. She excelled, and she did it without me. He looked at his daughter with something that might have been the proudest expression I'd ever seen on a father's face. I trained her to be a soldier, but she became something better. She became a leader. Carter's professional composure cracked just a little. Dad, you're getting sentimental. I'm old. I'm allowed to be sentimental. He looked back at me. Master Sergeant, take care of my girl. She's going places. And when she makes general, which she will, I want her to remember the people who believed in her when others didn't. Sir, with respect, I don't think anyone could stop Lieutenant Carter if they tried. General Carter smiled. No, I don't suppose they could. Epilogue. 5 years later, I retired from the Army 3 years after that conversation. I'd done my time, earned my pension, and was ready to hand the reins to the next generation. The day I retired, I got a letter. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. Master Sergeant, I heard you're retiring. Thank you for everything you taught me. Thank you for treating me like a soldier instead of an anomaly. Thank you for being one of the good ones. I made captain last month. I'm commanding a company now, mixed combat arms unit, including a sniper section. I'm teaching them what you taught me. That skill matters more than politics, that mission accomplishment trumps ego, and that the best soldiers are the ones who never stop learning. My father asks about you sometimes. He still tells the story about how you were the first person who evaluated me purely on merit. It's his favorite story about my service. I don't know if our paths will cross again, but I wanted you to know that everything I've accomplished, I accomplished because people like you gave me a chance to prove myself. Thank you, Master Sergeant, for everything. Respectfully, CPT Emily Carter. I framed that letter and hung it in my office at home. Because Emily Carter represents something important, not just about women in the military, but about what happens when you evaluate people based on their capabilities instead of your preconceptions. The Army tried to break her because they were afraid of what she represented. They sent her to BUD/S expecting her to fail. Instead, she showed them that limits are often self-imposed, that barriers exist to be overcome, and that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is underestimate someone who's spent their entire life preparing to prove you wrong. Last I heard, Carter made major. She's running advanced marksmanship training programs now, teaching the next generation of snipers. Her course has the highest graduation rate in the Army, not because she made it easier, but because she made it better. She teaches what her father taught her. Excellence is the only acceptable standard. And somewhere in all of this, the Army learned a valuable lesson. They learned that when you try to break someone just to prove you can, you better make damn sure they're actually breakable. Because Emily Carter wasn't. And the soldiers she's training now? They're learning from someone who survived everything the military could throw at her and came out stronger. That's leadership. That's legacy. That's what happens when a general's daughter refuses to trade on her father's name and instead earns her own. The Army didn't want her. They tried to force her out. They failed. And now she's making them better whether they like it or not. That's the thing about unbreakable soldiers. They don't just survive. They transform the institutions that tried to break them. Emily Carter transformed the Army by refusing to let it destroy her. And in doing so, she opened doors for every woman who comes after her. Not because she was the general's daughter, because she was the soldier the general raised her to be. And that makes all the difference. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Epic Recon Stories. Here we tell the missions that never made the headlines, the decisions made in silence, and the people who carried them. More stories are coming soon.